This your boy Daniel Lyndon Evans, and you are live inside the den. And we have a very special episode tonight of Storytime inside the den. I have with me two of my really good friends, brother, best friend, and things like that. And so we're going to do a very special episode tonight. Where you're gonna get three stories tonight instead of one. How about that? So I'm gonna tell my story first, and then we're gonna have those two guys tell the story. But you're gonna get three stories tonight, and we're gonna do this inside the den. So the next episode of Storytime Inside the Den starts right now.
It's that soul shit. And yo, Ash, you a fool for this one. It's like
It's a video.
it's like this beat just singing.
Video. Turns off awesome.
Pain in my soul. Yeah. Pain in my soul, let it rain from my soul. Gotta find myself, that's the goal. Wrote myself a letter, that's from soul. All that shit, it came from my soul. Tryna find a way to let it go. But my diamond in the rough, but still a rough diamond. Pressure made me, I'm blowing up like I'm detonating. Found my passion, you can't separate me, yeah, I'm levitating. I know you thought you knew me, but I promise you ain't know me. And even if you knew me, I ain't nothing like the old me.
All right, so the story I'm going to tell you all tonight is a story that is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to tell you about Hurricane Katrina from my point of view. A lot of you all know I'm from Gulfport, Mississippi, right there on the Gulf Coast. And in 2005, we had one of the most devastating storms of all time came through by the name of Hurricane Katrina. And this is how it went for me. So August 29th, 2005 is when Hurricane Katrina hit. But let's go back a couple of days. My birthday is August 27th. So every year on my birthday, whomever I'm with, if I'm at home with my mom or if I'm in a relationship, they know that on my birthday, I like a certain menu for dinner. And my menu goes as follows: red beans and rice, sweet cornbread, fried chicken, and some chocolate cake, and something to drink. My mother has given me that meal every year of my life since I was like maybe 6 years old. That is my all-time favorite meal of all time. So every year of my birthday, my mom feeds me that meal. So when I got grown and got out the house and started, my life and became a Marine and all that, every woman I was with, they had to learn how to make that meal in order to, really like get into my heart and kind of gain some points. You got to learn how to make that meal. Red beans and rice, boom, you got to learn how to make it. So in 2005, I was with this young lady by the name of Stephanie Zanders, and she made that meal for me on August 27th, 2005. Hurricane Katrina hit on August 29th, 2005, which is also the birthday of the late Michael Jackson. So I will never forget that date. Going into Hurricane Katrina, they said it's going to come in as a Category 5, and everybody was so concerned about getting out of town and ducking and dodging the storm. That was a time where, it had the most storms that ever came through in one year came through in '05. But on August 29th, going into the Hurricane Katrina, I actually was employed by the Harrison County Sheriff Department at the time. And anytime we have any type of storm of natural disaster, the deputy sheriff has to be locked in and be full time, on the clock, things like that. So I was actually working at the jail, at the county jail during that time. And they had us locked in. We had to get with our families, get our stuff together and come in, and we had to actually stay inside the jail as a shelter through the course of Hurricane Katrina. And had just turned 25 years old. It's been a long time ago, y'all. I had just turned 25 years old in August 27th. Katrina hit on 29th. And so, as a deputy sheriff, we had to stay at the jailhouse round the clock, uh, extra security on the inmates and things like that. And I remember when the storm was coming through, we was on the back dock of the jail, and we seen the trees and stuff falling down. We was taking bets on which way we thought the tree would fall, so people can place their bets. You know, 10 people might say it's gonna fall to the left. 3 people might say it's gonna fall to the right. They taking bets on which way the tree gonna fall and things like that. Um, I remember it being one of those times where you just had to really. Uh, it was a trying time that year. People was going through hardships financially, and it was a really rough year. And sometimes God will use these national disasters as a way to clean things up and purify things and give you a clean slate. And so while a lot of people was fearing Hurricane Katrina, a lot of people was welcome her in, open arms. Come on in, Katrina, because that was a time when if you wanted to murder somebody, you could have got away with it because the body would never been found. It was so many deaths during Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans and Mississippi and all that. So during this time, it was just a time of just confusion, time of confusion. And going into the storm, people really didn't know what to expect with Hurricane Katrina. But as any other woman would want to go out in a blaze of glory, she danced all night long. Hurricane Katrina danced on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, and what we thought was going to be a Category 1 storm ended up being a Category 3, and she dumped all her rain and water out on the Gulf Coast, and it rained. She danced all night long. Hurricane Katrina danced and danced and danced. After she danced her last dance, the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina left us in a state of shock. Being part of the sheriff's department, one of our duties was to go into the neighborhood of our co-workers and assess the damage to see what would be had about their situation. And I remember going out on a team with some people, going back to the house that I was actually staying in that area. And I remember on the way to go to our locations, in the ditch to the right, we saw bodies piled up in the ditch. There was a local nursing home that was close by, and the people didn't get a chance to evacuate. So because they couldn't evacuate, they ended up staying. And they died inside that building. So all their bodies was washed out and it was over in the ditch. Having to see that type of energy throughout the whole time, trying to assess the damage of Hurricane Katrina as she danced her last dance. And after all the dust settled and the smoke cleared, we were able to see what we had left of our city in our state, Mississippi. Come to realize that God is the great equalizer. Because the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, we had to stand in these lines to get water, stand in these lines to go get gas and things like that. And it didn't matter if you had $1 million in the bank or $1. Guess what? You had to stand in the same line as the person that's trying to get the help. Then I learned about the power of God. How after they started handing out them FEMA checks, there were people that didn't have the right type of insurance because they thought that flood insurance was covered under storm, but it wasn't. And they spent 30 years paying on insurance and not being able to benefit off of it because they didn't have the right kind of insurance. After all that stuff started happening, and you thought that, wow, what's the point of all this? These people was able to get checks big enough to start their life over with. somebody that was barely making it after the storm, they was able to get enough money to start over. And although all the stuff was exposed in New Orleans with the Ninth Ward and Chocolate City and the leadership down there, they was able to regain back their independence down there in New Orleans. So I believe everything happened for a reason, and I believe that Hurricane Katrina was an equalizer to reset some things that had been going on in the South. And I remember after the initial storm and after assessing all of the damage and seeing all the dead bodies we had to see, just thinking of um, how lucky you are to be able to be amongst the land of the living. Not being able to find the contact with your family, not knowing if they survived the storm or not, having to depend on your faith to say that I pray that my family made it out alive. Only to find out that all the communication towers and the satellites is all down, so you can't call your people. You got to just trust that they're going to be okay. Doing all this work in the community, trying to make sure everybody else's family is good, but not even knowing if your home family is good or not. But still got to go out to the community. And then so being able to finally, after a couple of days had passed, and maybe get on the phone and realize that my family is okay. And having the joy to knowing that we made it through. Made it through the storm. And that will be a date that I will always remember in my life because it happened 2 days after my 25th birthday, Hurricane Katrina. And that's all I got to say about that. So, I hope y'all enjoyed my story. I'm going to pass the mic to the left, and now you get a chance to hear from one of my other friends and their story on Storytime Inside the Den.
Me ain't nothing like the old me. So next, what's going on, everybody? Soulfvl Pvrpose, Soulfvl Designs, the man behind the camera. But this time I'm in front of it. So, the story that I'm going to tell is a story of how I learned when I first got my cell phone and first, pretty much my first hustle. So, back in like 2008, I'm in middle school, and I wanted a cell phone. All my friends had a cell phone. Now, mind you, it's just my mom with 5 kids. Can't afford no cell phone. I asked my mom, she's like, look, I'm sorry, baby, but we just can't get you no cell phone. And I'm like, man, I need a cell phone. My mom gets about $800 in food stamps a month. So we have a $50 allowance a week because my mom works 2 jobs. So we got a $50 allowance a week to get, just stuff around the house because she working night shift. So while she working night shift, we pretty much at the house by ourselves. I got an older brother, so it's 15, 13. It's we spread out over ages or whatever. That's not even important. So I want this cell phone back because I just want to be able to communicate. And so I go to the store with my 50. Now my brothers and my sisters buying pizza rolls, hot pockets, packs of oodles and noodles. I go in the store and what do I buy? Candy. I rack up on the Hubba Bubba gum. I'm getting Airheads. I'm getting bags of chips. I grab some juices. I mean, I spent $50 on straight snacks and candy. Right? Go to school the next day. So I'm not expecting to sell out first day. I get to school. I'm like, hey, I just start letting everybody know I got candy now. back in that time, back in 2008, the candy was the Hubba Bubba gum was pretty much $1. The pack was $1, but you get 4 in the pack.
Wow.
So really, they 25 cents a piece. I go to school, I'm selling them for $1 a pack for one pack for a 25-cent pack of gum.
You hustling son of a gun, you.
I'm selling them for $1 for one pack. So this white guy, he's like, man, I can go to the store and I can get 4 of these for $1. I said, okay, go to the store. Well, I can't go right now. Okay, so do you want the gum or not? You want it, I got it. Look, man, I just created a demand. It was a demand. I created the supply. I have the supply. You have the demand. So I'm at school, man. I'm selling this candy, man. You know, I'm getting backlash from people. Everybody's saying the same thing, and I hit them with the same thing. I got it. You need it. You ain't finna leave the school and walk to the store. Your mama ain't finna bring you no candy. Hell, you probably can't even get no candy when you go home. So, man, the first day, dude, I sell everything. Make $100. Made $100 first day. So I
$100?
I made $100 first day. Probably more than that, but this was so long. But
Man,
I made $100 first day.
That ain't bad, man.
I made $100 first day.
One day?
One day, first day. I mean, because I knew everybody. I was like semi-popular. So since I know everybody, I mean, dude, I'm like, they stay like, you know, Tonio got the candy. Once the word spread, because word of mouth is literally the best advertising, right? So once the word spread, Tonio got the candy. Because this is the thing, right? Back in school, if you got gum and you don't want to share it, do not pull it out. Don't tell nobody you got it because everybody gonna ask you for a piece. So I just thought about it like, well, shoot, I'm gonna tell everybody I got it, but it ain't free. You can get it, but you just gotta pay for it. So I made $100 the first day. I take 50 out of that 100 and go and buy the same thing I just bought.
Entrepreneur.
Take the other 50.
Entrepreneur.
And I put the other 50 to the side. All right, that's going towards the phone.
Sound like a drug deal, but it ain't.
It ain't. I'm in school, but no lie, the fact that it sounded like a drug deal is funny because these jokers were acting like crackheads over this candy, bro. I mean, they wanted it, and I had it. Like, if I ever ran out or if I ever didn't go to the store and didn't have it, they like, bro, you ain't bring no candy? They tripping out. So I make $100, put 50 up, go back, buy another 50. Next day, make another $100. So I'm making $100 a day in school, bro, because I know everybody. I'm not just selling to the 8th graders.
That ain't bad right there. $100 a day,
graders.
5 days a week, son.
Come on, bro. I'm selling to.
How old were you at this time?
I'm like, what, like 12, I want to say?
12 years old, man, making $100 a day.
I'm like 12 years old, bro. Like,
wow.
I'm selling to everybody. I'm selling to the 8th graders, the 7th graders, and I'm selling to the 6th graders. I'm selling to the whole school pretty much.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it got to the point, bro, where I literally, before I went to school in the morning, I just emptied my books out of my book bag. And then I'm like, I'm just going to bring candy to school. I just put book candy in my school, fill my whole book bag up with candy. Then it got to the point where I started slacking off in school. So I actually had to leave my books at school. So I took my books to school one day, left them at school. If I got homework, man, I just figure out how the heck I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but I'm going to just borrow somebody's book or something. I'm going to do my homework, but I'm going to borrow somebody's book that stay in the neighborhood because, yeah, think about it. The school is right across the street from my house. The grocery store food line is right down the street. So everything is in walking distance. So we all walk to school. Man, I made so much money, bro. Got me a cell phone. My mom, she how you get a cell? I called her one day. Hey, Mom. Who you calling me from? Oh, Mom, this is my phone. How you get a cell phone? So you remember all that candy I was buying? I've been selling it at school. She like, oh, no, you for real? So at that point, my mom realized that her son is an entrepreneur. I wanted something. I needed it in my mind. I found a way to go get it.
Buying candy, using candy to buy a phone.
And it's easy to do, man. It's literally easy to do, bro. You create, you there's already a demand, and you just bring the supplies.
Wow.
So, with that being said, man, hey, I know my story's short, but that's all right, because that's my story, and that's my time, Coach.
All right, okay. So we're gonna pass it to the left one more time to my best friend and brother here, Junior.
Me ain't nothing like the homie.
Georgia stories, especially the Katrina one, because it was so long ago. I don't know why I thought Katrina was more of in like past 2010. I didn't know what happened about that.
Mm.
I didn't know that. Well, shit, 9/11 happened in 2001.
Yeah, yeah, we was on Paris Island. You remember?
Mm-hmm. That's what my stories go. See, my story is gonna be choppy because I'm new to this podcast thing, and I got a future podcast coming up for the long haul. So, the reason why I call it for the long haul, I drive trucks and I see everything. But rewinding it back where I'm from, who I am, and why I look like this, and why I just stay, you know what I'm saying, stay mellow. You know, a lot of things that happened in my life. I'm born in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. So, you know, I was right there when crack came, right there in the streets of Chicago. And I'm going to tell you, you know, a lot of people think I'm Southern, so you probably won't hear the Chicago in me. I left when I was 10. But back in Chicago in the 80s, you've seen a whole lot of stuff at a young age. But we was I met my first entrepreneur. My auntie was my first entrepreneur. She sold the medallions, the tie-dye shirts. She even sold tap water and told the people it was tap water for $1 in the streets of Chicago. Mother's Day flowers come from the Rollins family. We used to make them. I didn't used to make them, but I used to sell them. Little shorty, 2 years old when I left Chicago, but I was selling these Mother's Day flowers at 6 years old. Pocket full of money, 24-ounce box of things. When you get off the bus, Mother's Day flowers, $1. So yeah, flea market, Alsa Flea Market. If you know anything about Alsa Flea Market, we was there. Orange spray. If you clean wood, would get the soap scum off and all that stuff. I was the first little black boy who sold that. I should be in Black History Month.
Really?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know. I don't tell everybody. So I keep everything to myself. I don't like everybody knowing something about me. But now I got these two guys right there put me on this podcast thing. I'm about to tell y'all some stuff y'all think y'all never heard before. But like I said, for the long haul, you get a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there. Go to the rest area, stop. Come on by there. DLT pull you over, tell him the story. Might tell him a lie. But as I can tell you, like I said, I was 10, and I just found out. I said I graduated high school. I'm gonna be chopping now. You be patient now. Hey, follow me. If you don't follow me, you ain't gonna get it. I just found out this year. This year, see, I graduated high school when I was 16. And everybody, well, you lying. You lying. I'm like, nah, I graduated. My sister had to sign for me to go to the Marine Corps when I was 17. I turned 17 after I graduated. But I graduated at 16. I was trying to figure out. I never did go to fourth grade. And I was trying to figure out how to end up with fourth. So when I left Chicago, I was 10 years old. That was third grade. Miss Combs, I still remember. I don't remember my fourth grade teacher because I didn't have one. So when I moved down to Alabama, I went to Miss Jackson, who was my fifth grade teacher. I guess I don't know, the curriculum from Alabama and Chicago probably was different. They probably said this guy probably, because I was probably 5'5" in the fifth grade.
Advanced.
You know, I was, and I like I said, I don't think it was nothing dealing with how smart I was. Because, you know, taking nothing from me, but I'm a pretty wise guy. But I believe they just advanced because I was big. I was bigger than I was bigger than some middle school people. We had one hallway, kindergarten through 12, no middle school. One school, one hallway, a lot of old teachers. But yeah, I moved to Chicago from 10, like I said. I did a lot of stuff at an early age That's why I got my own barbecue business too. I've been knew how to sell a chicken sandwich, ribs, all that. I've been like that at an early age. So you gonna entrepreneurship. That's why when I meet these guys, I'm like, man, they got it I never heard them say they family did this. My whole family. Snowballs in Chicago, like I said, water, Mother's Day flowers, tie-dye shirts, ribs, all the way down to the pig. Yeah. So it's in my blood. And so where was I? No, I lost you. I didn't get lost. but
Okay.
hey, I'm not gonna sum it up real quick. I'm not gonna talk. But you gonna have to do some edit for my ass. Hey, good. Hey, but I'm not gonna give you a long story because guess what? It's called For the Long Haul, partnering up with Lions Dan Evans, along with
Soulfvl Design.
Soulfvl Design. We teaming up, so you getting 3 personalities, 3 situations, 3 the trifecta, I guess. You know what I'm saying? We the up and coming big 3. You know what I'm saying? Up and coming big 3. Because I see a lot of these podcasts out here. I ain't throwing no shade, but guess what? We can do what you can do. So be on the lookout. Share. If you got some advice for us, let us know. I know this is supposed to be story time, but this is my story. My story got to do something with. I like to tell future stories. I like to tell why I'm the person I am now. People say, "Oh, this big dude just always just talking and all that. Ain't never mad." I made up my mind. It takes too much energy to be mad.
Yeah, it does, man.
So what I do is I try to capitalize on the free time I get, and then I add that with the time when I don't have that much time and realize it's all time. You can't, guess what? You ain't gonna defeat time. It's gonna keep on rolling. When you go to sleep, you're still gonna be rolling. I ain't never seen nobody lay down at 7, and when he woke up, it was 7 o'clock. Time keep on rolling. Time keep on rolling. That's how these stories gonna keep on rolling. Story time. That's why you look over there on that, you see that clock on there. We still gonna keep on rolling till the wheels fall off. That's my time. I know I probably ain't told you much. Guess what? I did that for a reason. You gonna listen to us. It's gonna be too big a team, baby. Bro.
I know you thought you knew me, but I promise you ain't know me. And even if you knew me, I ain't nothing like the old.